All right, welcome back, everybody. This video, I promise, this time around is going to be significantly shorter than the two previous ones. I know that most of you weren't necessarily thinking you'd have to watch me speaking into a camera for around 30 to 40 minutes each week. Um, eh, we'll have a couple more, I think, that are going to be at that level, but this one's going to be significantly shorter because in this section, what we're doing is just sort of getting ourselves geared up for figuring out how to digest that information that you accumulated in the past one or past module where you were finding those research articles that you were going to use for your paper this semester. Uh, I've read over some of the ones that are submitted, or at least when you're watching this, I will have read over some of the ones that you've submitted. I'm admittedly recording this a little early. So I gonna have an expectation that a lot of you are on the right path for the articles and might actually be done searching for all the ones that you're gonna need. If it's sort of indicative of what I've encountered in past semesters when I've had people do these lit reviews, a big number of people have actually found exactly what they need to find to get going on doing their research. I also know that there are some people out there that we probably didn't find the best resources. You skipped the whole finding articles thing and just went to web pages because that's what you're accustomed to getting information from, or you used textbooks to talk about what it is you might study in this project that you're going to be doing. If you are in that camp, if you were one of the ones that did not necessarily hit on the right notes, you'll see comments in the comment section saying you really probably need to rethink what it is you're using because this isn't going to necessarily get you to where you need to be for the research summaries, the introductions, and even coming up with a good idea for your project. If you've got those comments, you might need to go back to square one and start trying to find articles again. When you're going out there to find those articles, what I'm hoping you're doing is being the second time around, maybe a better consumer of the information that was provided before and a better consumer of what you're seeing in the article summaries or the brief snippets that you looked at to get a sense of what you're going to be able to find in those research articles. And the next module, you're going to actually be providing summaries of the research articles and trying to figure out if what you found really fits into an idea that you're going to use for this thesis. And sometimes people might find good articles, but realize once they've read through them, it just doesn't really fit a theme that they were looking for. It doesn't match the expectations of what they thought the article was going to be about. It's going to happen. Not a problem. It's really not an issue to go back to the drawing board a second or third time when that happens. What I want us to be covering in this module, one where there isn't necessarily an assignment due, but you're progressing through the process right now, is go over how to actually consume those research articles that you're being presented or the other resources that you're utilizing. Because one of the biggest challenges for students when they start planning these papers is figuring out how to, once you've found some resources, use them correctly. And when we talk about using them correctly, the big challenge is being able to decipher what is actually in those research articles, what you can take from them, and how you can use those for your own ideas and your own work. This is where the whole video being short thing comes into play. Instead of me harping on things that you need to consider and ideas that you need to make sure that you understand, I decided this one time only to provide you with a link of a web page that starts off with a video that was actually presented by a late show comedian who's actually extremely scientifically minded, a gentleman named John Oliver. So at the start of this web page, you'll see a short clip of him talking about how to be better consumers of research information. I'd love for you to first watch this clip, and then afterwards, what you're going to get is sort of a breakdown of things that you want to consider as you're going through the literature, different articles that are available. There's even some steps to take when thinking about how to really assess the ideas of your articles. There's some assignments that you can go through if you want to. You're not going to have to submit them to the class, but they really do help with being a better consumer of information. And then what you see here in this is some really good resources on how to be a better consumer of information with respect to thinking about ideas for your project, how to go over things, and how to present that information later on. Now, none of these things that are presented here are necessarily going to be things that you're submitting for this class. But what I've gathered in past semesters when I've communicated with students is that the ones that take advantage of this now are much better prepared to go through the articles that they're reading later on and much better prepared to structure their research papers later on. Not only coming up with topics that make sense, but knowing what the goals are for those research articles that you're going to be working on. So I encourage you, if you've got time in this particular week or week, but module, to go over all of the content that's within this web page that's provided on the class syllabus and the class modules page. This link is going to really be helpful, not only now, but maybe later on when you revisit some of this stuff. I do admit that some of you, if you've had a great methods research or methods of research instructor, if you've had a great one, a lot of this stuff is going to be reviewed. A lot of this stuff is going to be stuff you already heard about and already are thinking about. But if it's been a while, or you just didn't necessarily get everything you needed from those classes, these links, this information here is extremely valuable, just about as valuable as some of the stats books and methods books you've covered. And in fact, one of my favorite things to this is this listing here that actually goes over how to do different tests and when to do them. A lot of you will be running ANOVAs, t-tests, measures of effect size, and confidence intervals. I know some of you have this down. You've gone through the right classes and you get it, but I also know that some students tend to struggle with this stuff. Knowing this, understanding how to present it, understanding when you're supposed to do these types of things by watching videos on these topics is invaluable because it helps you really process what it is that you're looking at with these and when you're going to do this test and what it is you have to include in your assessments. And in fact, every single test, so I'm going to revisit this a little bit later, every single test that you could possibly conduct in your research sections is listed here on this page with videos linked to it, sort of explaining not only the logic of why you do certain tests, but the process that you might go through when you're doing them. So again, if you've had a great stats class, you know this inside out. If you have a great methods class, you know this inside out. Maybe some of this is just a review, a refresher on it. But if you need help, this is a constant thing that you can reference. I'd love to, again, have you start with just the video explaining why this is such a critical thing. After you've gone through this, next module, as we're going to talk about, we're going to be going through how to break down the specific articles or specific resources you have. That again might cause you to have to revisit whether or not what you found really works because you got to have several resources for that final paper. But I don't want to jump ahead quite yet. I want us to just pause at this moment and really assess the importance of good research and being better consumers of it. So hopefully you have some time in the next couple days here to go over this and feel good about everything. If you've got questions about it along the way, by all means, reach out to me. And when we're done with this, I'll see you in the next module when we start to go through some pretty critical stuff when it comes to figuring out ways to summarize and present the information that you've accumulated so far. That's it for today, though. I wish you all the best. Don't forget to click on those links. Take care.